Hello everyone and welcome back to the next episode of StreamTime Sports. My name is Chris Stone and I'm the community lead here at Sports Pro Media, and I'd like to start the episode by welcoming you into 2025 and wishing you a happy new year. Those of you that have listened to the podcast will know that our CEO Nick Meacham, his time in Jamaica has finally come to an end and he's moving slightly closer back to Sports Pro and going to Sweden. Now, on his way to Sweden, he's stopping back at home in Australia. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know from Jamaica whether you travel west to Australia or you travel east to Australia. I just know that it's a really long trip. So unfortunately, Nick won't be joining me in this episode, but don't you worry, you'll still have the opportunity to hear Nick's lovely Aussie tones, as we will be focusing on an interview that he did at Sports Pro Madrid just at the end of 2024. Now, anyone that is familiar with Sports Pro Madrid, having attended the event or following Sports Pro, or if you've listened to the podcast, you'll heard Nick and I speak about the fact that recently the event has changed. It used to be the Sports Pro OTT Summit before now being called the Sports Pro Madrid Summit. Part of that was simply because over the 8 to 9 years we've been running that event, OTT has gone from being a silver bullet, the new thing that was going to save the sports industry, to simply being one part of the larger media outreach that sports organizations, sports properties, broadcasters had within their portfolio. However, there's still organizations out there that have not launched OTT platforms. Some of them might be broadcasters looking to potentially provide more access to their content beyond linear TV. And there's still rights holders out there looking to potentially capitalize and connect with the superfans. In this interview that Nick does, it's talking about essentially how you go from the concept and the ideas and building an OTT platform to actually going and launching it, which includes the different challenges and rewards of doing so and building that OTT platform. On this interview, Nick is speaking with the Chief Commercial Officer of Feyenoord, one of the top clubs in the Dutch Eredivisie, as well as the Technology, Analytics, and Product Director for beIN Media Group, looking specifically after Todd TV. For those who haven't heard it before, you can go back in the archives and actually find the interview that Nick and I did with John Paul McCurley, the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Todd, when they launched this streaming platform just about 2 years ago in the MENA region. So through this conversation, they're going to talk about the different benefits to launching an OTT platform, the challenges of doing so, how OTT is becoming a richer experience, becoming more attractive to sports fans, the importance of being able to own first-party data, maximizing audience growth, and why OTT in particular, especially for rights holders, is such a viable strategy when we look at some of the struggles that rights holders have been having in terms of securing media rights deals and why OTT really does matter. So that is enough of me. I hope, again, you guys have had a happy holidays and a great new year, and I will hand things over to Nick.
Plenty to dig into for this session, where we're going to try and really dig into the journey that is building an OTT platform from conception to launch, and some of the fun parts and some of the challenges that come along the way. But before we kick into gear with this, I'll get my panelists, please, to do a quick intro on themselves and what specifically they have delivered from an OTT perspective, so there's some context in what we're going to be talking about. But let's start with you, Ruud.
Yeah, my name is Ruud van der Knaap. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for Feyenoord Rotterdam, a Dutch football club competing in the Champions League this year. And last January, we launched our own streaming service called Feyenoord One.
Good afternoon. I'm James. I work for Todd. I've been lucky to have worked on a lot of products over my career, but recently people more familiar maybe with the beIN Media Group. Todd is the newest company to be formed out of that, and we're a direct-to-consumer product across Middle East, North Africa, and Turkey. And just, James, quickly, give us a bit of a sense of the scale in terms of reach there. Well, the MENA region is a pretty diverse region, 30-plus countries. Obviously, people are very familiar with the Gulf, but then we have the whole of the Levant, North Africa, all the way out through Egypt, Tunisia, all the way to Morocco on the other end. So it's a huge market, 350 million plus addressable. And growing fast.
Wim.
Yes, good afternoon. It's good to be back in Madrid here. My name is Wim Sweldens. I'm the co-founder and CMO of a company called Kiswe. We are a direct-to-consumer streaming partner. We like to use the word direct-to-consumer more than OTT platform, but what it means that we partner with leagues and teams who have content. We've sort of pioneered this in the US market, working with several NBA and NHL teams, particularly with the collapse of some of the RSN markets. And we help teams directly reach their fans, collect data, and drive monetization.
So let's get into, again, the lead of this conversation around conceptualizing the idea first. So someone comes up with the idea, you know what, we should probably do an OTT platform. What from there? What are some of the key considerations you need to be looking at that conceptualization stage to work out what is the right approach? Ruud, start with you.
Yeah, for us, I think it was actually the idea started when we got the question from the board, which said, well, we're investing this loads of money into production budget for operating all of our social media channels. We operate 8 of them. We have obligations to ESPN in producing TV content and documentaries. So we produce a lot of content, and also high quality content, we feel. That didn't get the audiences we wanted to. So we were actually thinking from that kind of perspective to starting our own service, which combined all of these content so that our fans would have only one place to go, Feyenoord 1, in order to find everything they wanted to know about Feyenoord. I think also what helped was that we are sold out every match, so we don't have any tickets to sell anymore. So we desperately needed also new product offers, new propositions for our fan base. And of course, we are also very interested in getting more control of our media services and knowing how many people watch, who's watching, how long they're watching and stuff like that. So everything combined made it quite clear that we just needed to start the streaming service ourselves.
One of the challenges that a football club typically has is the limited access to live rights. Just what is the situation there for the club?
Yeah, that's a good question. However, we cannot stream our Champions League matches or our league matches live. However, we get what you call a privilege from UEFA and also from Eredivisie, because when you want to show some of the highlights of your Champions League match on your social media channels, as a football club, you can only broadcast at a maximum of 2 minutes on your social media channels, and only on Friday when you play on Tuesday. But when you operate your own streaming service with your own branded media channels behind the login, you can already broadcast all of the match, the full rematch, at the 00 hours at the night after the match. So we have an advantage on distributing our own matches as well, not live, but close to live. So for several markets in Asia, for instance, this is quite interesting. We also distribute live matches from our academy teams, and also our preseason was exclusive live on our own streaming service. That was really helpful for getting more subscribers. So we do have a lot of opportunities besides the Champions League and the league matches.
So it all comes down to expectation management of what that platform is going to do for you, though. We want to ask your take on this, because obviously you've worked with a host of different rights holders across the world, sports properties and broadcasters alike. What's some of the things you're talking to them about that they have to get nailed at that conceptualization point?
Yeah, so in terms of how these things typically start, we work with a lot of teams and leagues around the world. And obviously, what is the goal of a team? The goal of a team is to win the game. In order to win the game, you have to have the best players. In order to have the best players, you have to be able to afford them. So what often prompts the conversation is that when a team or a league realizes that the existing TV rights holder or broadcaster, some of the teams we heard only has a penetration of like 30-some%, because so many people are cutting cable or no longer watching TV. So there's 60-some% of the audience is being left out. That is not being monetized, that's not being engaged. So our mantra is always make sure that you reach every single fan. Some fans maybe like to watch on TV, some on linear, some on digital, some on social media. It's very important to find all the fans, engage them, ideally, in our mind, bring them into a team or league branded platform where they can get a lot more content than the games. Just like Ruud was saying, there's the games, but there's a lot of ancillary content, pre-game, post-game, behind the scene, youth games. And so bring in an entire 24/7 experience in a digital and then drive different ways to monetize that. That's often what starts the conversation.
And do you find when you're having those conversations, are they progressed already? Have they got a good sense of what they are looking to achieve from an objective perspective, whether it be ROO or ROI in terms of investment or objectives? Or are you getting right at the sort of carte blanche a little bit? So Ruud's example is that we want to do something and then you got to, okay, now we've got to start the journey.
Yeah, we don't really get carte blanche. That doesn't really happen in our industry, but we are quite advanced now. We're in our third year for many of these leagues. A lot of this was prompted in the regional market in the US 2 years ago, when a lot of the regional broadcasters run into solvency and bankruptcy issue, that all of a sudden made these rights available and these fans that needed to be reached. So we were able to sort of be at the forefront of that. But no, you never get a carte blanche. And there's always a way to sort of like, we often work together with broadcasters. There's often ways to do what we like to call a stream and beam deal. So you can deal with the beaming for the older audience and the streaming for the younger audience. So it's always a little bit of a puzzle in terms of region, country, demographic of people that needs to be reached. But the ultimate goal is still the same. Reach as many different fans on as many different platforms and find a way to engage and monetize them.
So James, over to you here. Obviously, you come from the platform and broadcaster background through the beIN business. And obviously your background's in product. So what's some of the product things you're considering at that early stage about what you want to have in a platform that you perhaps did when you were developing Todd?
So with a product in a region, and we talked about the breadth of Middle East, the fortunate thing that we found is take language out. People are generally the same. The consumption habits do follow a trend. What people expect from a product, the extra content, the ancillary, the productions, that is in huge demand. Now, it's traditional broadcast, which is still huge across North Africa especially, doesn't produce a lot of that around it generally. Whereas through an OTT product or through certainly the technology that underpins it, you can start to bring out a lot of these, it's not even features, but extra pieces of content and monetizable pieces of content and angles that you can address customers, which happens to be ubiquitous through whether that's shorts and clips and highlights and Instagram stories. That's the kind of stuff that's quite easy to produce under an OTT model, not as easy to produce traditionally under a broadcast. So we look at all of these. It's quite early days for us. We've been launched 3 years, but I'd say we're only about a year into experimenting with some of these kind of newer models. We certainly haven't nailed it yet, but I think the OTT vision is that these become quite easy to adapt to and easy to bring to life. So,
obviously, reach is an important measure, as you've described, but obviously monetizations are pretty important because if you can't pay the bills, then the platform will be wrapped up pretty quickly. So just quickly, if we can go through the panel again, what are the examples of what you've used and followed, and why did you get to that decision? Starting again with you, Ruud.
Yeah, I think it was one of the main challenges, how to bring this to the market. We already have 100,000 memberships which are being sold. So our season ticket holders are amongst those 100,000, but also club members who have privileges on buying tickets. And we were thinking, should we bring this within this membership fee, or should we launch it standalone? So what we did is to have a conjoint analysis with our market. And that really helped us in seeing where the value was. So our members, it was clear that our members would value it more than the specific target group, which was attracted by the proposition of a streaming service by their favorite club. So it was quite easy afterwards to decide to bring it standalone to the market. So we launched it standalone. Our club members get a discount or a free trial period in order to try the streaming service. And from this from this season on, we have a paid membership for all of the subscribers.
And so James, for you.
So I think the flexibility and pricing models, having moved away from broadcast solution, which is kind of a one size fits all. I mean, obviously there's packages within that, but we've been able to really build targeted propositions. So when we launched a couple of years ago, we effectively took a copy of the beIN channels with all the content attached to it. We completely broke that model. We now run what we call an event base. So we just run each game individually. We produce them and editorially, we present them individually, so we can now sell them individually. We can sell specific periods from weekly, daily, specific leagues, weekends, potentially, but also even more recently, we can adapt the quality. So we have numbers of countries which want mobile only. So we're able to target specific devices, target specific qualities. If the internet isn't great in Yemen, then maybe we're only targeting 720, and we're able to bring our cost model down for those countries to offer a better price and proposition. So having that flexibility is something we can't do necessarily in the older world, and it's given us a lot to work with when we're entering new markets and developing our existing ones.
So just to be clear, I guess from that point of view, is it all subscription only, a variable pricing, or you have some stuff that is front of paywall advertising funded, or a bit of both?
Yeah, so we don't run any sort of free or advertising supported content at the moment.
Yeah.
We're certainly looking at how that can supplement. Our core portfolio is premium sports, which is very difficult to run on a completely ad supported model, but definitely it will play a part over the coming years. I don't have the answer yet as to exactly how that will look, but I think certainly in some regions there is the lower your entry point can be, the better. And so bringing all these costs down, whether it's through supplementing revenue with advertising sponsorship or reducing the product to target that region, it will all contribute to.
Wim, the same question for you. What are you seeing that works well, and what's the most common approaches that you followed?
So we've worked with a number of teams and leagues around the world, but just maybe two examples that I'll go into. We've worked a lot with the NBA as a league and also with specific NBA teams. So with the Pelicans, we just launched Pelicans Plus. With the Suns, we launched Sun Live, all under their brand. With the Jazz, we launched Jazz Plus, which together is up for an award tonight. So we're excited about that at the event tonight. But what we've seen with all of these platforms is that they quickly grew to tens of thousands of paying subscribers, and they quickly became a much more engaging platform. I mean, an NBA team will play every 2, 3, 4 days, but at least half the fans will come back to the site every day. There's a lot of ancillary content, the engagement, there's a lot more time spent on the platform. I mean, there's a lot more returning users. And then the benefit for the team and the league is that they get all the data. They get to understand not only where are the users, who are the users, and how do they personalize the content for them. Some people like live, some people like clips, some people like behind the scenes. And so it's a unique way to sort of understand and target the demographic. And most of these are either monthly or yearly subscription paywalls. We also have a partnership with In Demand, where we've launched a website called ppv.com, which literally means pay-per-view. So it's only per game or per match. That has been mostly boxing matches and wrestling. We did all the big Canelo and Davis fights, and it went out without a glitch. The one last week was not us. That was another company with a red logo, not us. But we're able to do it with scale. And also for those platforms, we see higher engagement, higher number of returning users, and really a brand affinity are built around the content.
So all the models we've talked about have a very strong subscription approach to them, which we've discussed. Obviously, we also mentioned Wim earlier about the value of reach. Now, one of the things that we have talked about at length for years at this event, the balance of the right approach there. It feels like, you look to markets like the US, and the advertising industry is so strong and so robust, and a lot of money's invested into premium content. Europe, it's nowhere near to that scale, particularly in the OTT space. What's your collective views on the role advertising is going to play in the platform, respective platforms in the near to medium future? Is it an area that you're looking into heavily, or is it something that's just going to be one part of the mix moving forward? Wim, start with you.
Yeah, so obviously in the US market, it's very heavily advertising driven. It's not something we're looking into. It's something we're doing today. I mean, in terms of not only reaching all the fans, but also looking at all the dimensions of monetization, whether it is pay-per-view, subscriptions, ads, sponsorships, merchandising becomes a bigger part of the end-to-end integrated experience, and fan engagement. So advertising has to be integrated into the product, And the beauty about a streaming platform and a direct-to-consumer is that if the more you understand your fans, the more you can sort of understand the demographics and personalities, the more you can customize and individualize, not just the content, but also the advertising, which will result in better reception from end users and also better brand conversion for people. That is something that is inherent to a direct-to-consumer technology.
No doubt. And obviously with advertising, the risk, the challenges with that can be around the value of those ads and the running. How do you generate the income and sell the assets and inventory well? James, to you there, how's your business basically approaching the advertising game?
So we've just started looking at this because we have so many regions to work with, different cultural sensitivities throughout that as well. It's quite difficult to build a single strategy. So I think what we're focused on at the moment is building out the customer profiling so that when we get to the point where we're targeted advertising, we're ready. Until then, I think we'll largely be more sponsorship driven, probably with the larger sponsors, your Coca-Colas and things that can have a more broad appeal. So I think that will play a big role over the next few years. But certainly the technology is there now that we can address each of these markets in all of these languages at all of these different times under these different properties. So I think it'll play a bigger and bigger part. As I said, I don't think it's going to be an ad supported. We're not going to be able to deliver without any form of subscription for the foreseeable. But yeah, it's definitely going to be one that comes out.
And Ruud, for you, not only the role of advertising as like a monetization channel, but the idea, I guess, of removing or putting some of the content in front of the paywall and opening up to try and build up a bigger audience on the platform. Is that something that you've looked at, or is it focused just on this core audience for the moment?
Well, we're not completely blocked, so we have some free content for fans to watch. For instance, a press conference of the head coach before the match. It's public broadcasting, so everybody can see that. And somebody asked me before we launched, when are you successful? How many viewers do you want to have within 2 or 3 years? And we were only thinking in subscribers at the time. So it was a good question. It opened up our minds. Currently, we're also looking into possibilities to have distribution agreements with other platforms. So with other platforms who can broadcast Feyenoord 1 as well. And then we would like to have a distribution fee, of course. But these are interesting models as well. We keep the platform kind of advertiser free at the moment. We want to see what happens. We want to learn a little bit about our viewers, about how they engage, how long they watch, so we can better understand what to sell on the platform. We do operate one format, the branded content format, together with our biggest sponsor of the club, MediaMarkt. So they have their own branded format on Feyenoord 1.
I want to talk about some challenges along the way. We've talked about all the great things and the different ways to approach it, particularly on the monetization side. But from your journey, what were some of the challenges you had, whether they be business or technical, in the development of the platform before launching?
Yeah, I think one of the commercial challenges was very unknown. We were the first in the Netherlands to launch such a platform as a football club. So it was really unknown. What can we expect? How many subscribers can we expect? But we are positively surprised, I guess. So we have a mid-sized stadium full of subscribers at the moment. But the challenges, I think the technical challenges, I can name two. One of them was that we wanted to integrate the full service into our new app, Feyenoord app. It was quite a challenge. It took some extra investment and some extra time in order to make that happen. And also the subscription model, because we sell tickets, we sell merchandise, we sell subscriptions at the moment, we sell different stuff, and we would really like to know for you guys, for Nick Meacham, what do you buy at our club? And it's we don't have this in one place at the moment, so we're really working on that one as well in order to bring all the information from our fans and subscriptions and into the same environment.
And that's why you obviously need the technical expertise to be able to manage those things, either in-house or with a partner. James, well, how did you approach that challenge? Obviously, with building the platform, did you do most of it in-house? And what were some of the challenges around that?
So we've been going through a bit of a transformation, and it's largely been driven by the acceleration of services available in region. So even just a few years ago, it was very difficult to get Azure or Google Cloud availability locally. A lot of our products and services were run out of Europe and still are in some cases. And that kind of limits performance, especially to some countries which are less well connected. There's been a big shift recently. More and more points of presence has been opened up around the region. We've invested a lot in migrating our video infrastructure and increasingly our other product services into local data centers closer to customers. With our content delivery, again, we were only launched a couple of years ago. It's very difficult to predict where your bottlenecks will be. This year, we've noticed very quickly where those are appearing as we scale. So I think a big challenge going forward is now about investing in regional content delivery, partnering. I mean, we've got a strong partnership with a number of the major sort of CDN providers, but still for the bigger growing markets, which could be 60, 70 million people in a region that doesn't have great international connectivity, we're going to have to invest into that. So I think we're going to be fighting fires a little bit for the next few months, but it's a big priority for us to invest in that.
Fighting fires and constantly having to reinvest is kind of the name of the game, I think, for no matter who you are and how big you are, as we talked to intimated before. Wim, over to you on that one. What are some of the challenges you've seen, whether from the other organizations that you've worked with, that have been significant?
Yeah, so we've definitely had challenges in launching some of these D2C platforms. When the regional markets opened up unexpectedly almost 2 years ago, for some of the teams, we had like 30 days to actually launch the platform. So that was definitely a challenge, but we rallied as a team between our team and their team and were able to launch it. So that was definitely a stressful time.
It took us 1.5 years.
So call us next time. But then the other thing that we realized is that when you launch a team or league branded D2C product, it ultimately is a brand new product. It's not a product that has been sold before, not by the broadcaster, not by the league, not by the team. And it needs to be sold, marketed, customer service, secured in a new way. Mm-hmm. So in the meantime, we've now done this 4 or 5, 6 times. We've built up quite a bit of expertise. But what is key is to make sure that everybody involved in terms of the content, the marketing, the production, the distribution is aligned with the same goal. That's also why we like to adopt business models where we do revenue share opportunities so that everybody involved has one goal. Let's drive the number of subscribers, let's drive the monetization, and let's all drive on the same path. That allows us to move fast as well.
So we've got about 4 minutes left. We have some questions coming in. Before we do that, I want to talk about the launch experience. So what were some of the surprises, the challenges on launch when you launch your platforms? Ruud, did you have any? Or was it all smooth sailing?
No, I think on launch it was all quite good. We launched with a premiere of a documentary, so it was not a live broadcast. I think that helped. But we did experience some challenges with the streaming because it's an online product, mostly watched on a telephone, but you can stream it to your big screen. And we've seen some struggles over there with that technology, but they are all, that was just on launch, yeah.
Were you using a partner for that part of the experience, or what was you doing in-house?
No, we work with Endeavor Streaming, yeah. They help us, we use their white label solution.
Great. James, over to you. What were some challenges on when that red button was pressed, or the green button, depending on what do you want to call it?
So I guess I wasn't there for the very launch of Todd. However, the first big test, I guess, was the World Cup in Qatar. So for anyone who's worked in engineering through those launches, it's an awful time. And it's very difficult ever to predict the spike that comes through before a match, and certainly before a World Cup opening. Generally, where we see those bottlenecks is normally around the provisioning and payment systems. So getting people into the platform. Streaming is relatively simple once people are in there and up and running. But getting people through that journey fast enough is really tough. And obviously the pressure is always on in the minutes, because with live sports, World Cups especially, but live sports, there's no room for error. So that's always something we try and focus on. And that goes for every tournament. We have the same sort of crunches before Euros. We get better every time, of course, but it's always stressful. Those first sort of 15-minute countdown to a Euros or an Olympics or whatever. This year has been obviously especially stressful.
I can imagine. Wim.
Yeah, I want to pick up on some of the questions from the audience, like what Dylan and Carlo are saying. So first of all, I'm a huge believer in interactive fan engagement. We've seen enormous success with them. There's a learning experience around that as well, but it's clear that fans not only want to engage with the content, but also want to engage with each other. They want to get to know each other. They want to share experiences. They want to interact in a positive way. We've done quite a bit of experiences with that. And even during COVID, we worked a lot with the Olympic Games on fan engagement with big success. Obviously, to Dylan's question, the fan engagement is more of a mobile experience than it is a large screen experience. Often we find that you can watch it on a large screen and still do the fan engagement on the mobile. So a dual screen approach is there as well. But we do believe that fans are used for any content they see on social to interact, comment, like, share, and so on. And so live experiences and content experience should be similar way, with the benefit if they're done on platform, then you collect all the data, you can analyze all that data with AI, and the more the fan engages, the more you get to know a fan and the more you can better serve that fan.
Well, let's go look at some of the questions that are on the screen there. There's one from Hannah from Abley, real-time. How do you see real-time data experiences aligning with video streaming when it comes to fan engagement? James, maybe for you there, are you doing a lot in real time with the data coming in, or are you sort of not set and forget it, so to speak, but you let the platform do its thing and then analyze down the line?
So we've just signed, so it's something we're actively now building on. I'm a believer in it. I think it's incredibly powerful. I take a somewhat cautious approach to anything that could be interrupting or distracting from the main experience. But I think we're partnered. I think it's in the public sphere with Live for next year to start helping us with that. And I think the commercial team are very excited about how they can start using that, whether it's through sponsorship or other monetization as well. Today we don't do too much, but certainly I think next year, and certainly on mobile especially, we'll be really pushing that message.
And Ruud, just the same question for you. Are you doing anything from a real-time perspective on the platform, or largely reviewing it as and when?
No, at the moment we're not. We're looking into formats using data and analyzing backwards. So like the traditional talking heads on television, trying to elaborate on the matches. So we're looking into that, but not on real time at the moment.
Sadly, that is all we have time for today. Thank you very much to Ruud, James, and Wim for joining us.
Now, before you go, if you liked what you heard today, be sure to rate and review and just let me know what you think on social. You can find me on most social platforms as SportsProNick. And please do spread the word of the podcast. There's no better way of marketing than word of mouth, whether that be in person or on social media. And if you don't like what you've heard, or you think we should be doing more or less of something, then reach out and let me know, as I'd love to hear from you. Thanks, StreamTimers. Until next time.